Hey everybody, Jammer here. It's known that Nintendo's performance at this year's E3 wasn't one of their best. So today I'm going to be running down a top 10 list of the mistakes that they made that caused this reaction. Starting with number 10, the claim that they are an evolving and transforming company, but at this digital event not really much was shown. They said they're taking the company in new directions such as outsourcing their IPs to theme parks, running through mobile games, and their quality of life project, but none of which actively present nor shown at their event. They may be making a lot of changes in their company that wasn't evidently shown throughout their presentation. Number 9. Too much of their presentation was spent in developer stories. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy when the developer is showing how much they love the game and what process was taken to make the game, and all that history and storytelling is really interesting, but when their time on stage at E3 is limited and all eyes are on them, they need to take advantage of every precious second to be showing off great games for their company and what else entails for their future. I feel like too much time was spent explaining to death just the little tidbits and fun facts about each game that was being made. If the majority of those segments were nixed, they could have then covered and announced more new games, new content, and other things along the lines. Number 8. While they did state this before E3 even started, they didn't cover anything about mobile, NX, or Zelda Wii U, which I feel like really hindered their presentation this year. It was a big surprise earlier this year when Zelda Wii U received a delay. That really seemed to kill Nintendo's 2015 lineup, because that seemed to be its biggest, most flagship title that would be releasing this year. With that out of the picture, it was really up to E3's presentation to show off some new games coming out this year to make up for the fact that Zelda Wii U wouldn't be coming out this year. And speaking of this year, they did claim that some mobile games will be coming out before the end of the year. So them not having a presence at all during this E3 was very strange if they're thinking about releasing some this year. As for NX, it's understandable that they want to continue to focus their efforts more on the current generation of handheld and console they have currently. The big controversial now is a lot of their AAA titles are going to be pushed to this next console. That's why Zelda Wii U is being delayed, and other things more along the lines of that. Both arguments are valid why it wasn't present, and either could suffice as their reasoning. Number 7. When Reggie was sitting alongside the director of the Skylanders series, many fans knew that they would be discussing Amiibo, but not in the form that they ended up taking. Many were hoping that they were going to perhaps do a collaboration where they unveil a sandbox-style game mimicking the style of the Disney Infinity series and the Skylanders. However, they instead showed that two Nintendo characters, being Bowser and Donkey Kong, will be now playable characters in the next Skylanders game. Perhaps for Skylanders fans, this is a very cool thing, but I know many would like to see more Amiibo support, specifically a game centered for Amiibo. Some claim that a lot of this Amiibo support for games are very lackluster and aren't really to par, so having an Amiibo Land game could make up for the fact. Number 6. This also goes along the lines of the potential rumor of games being pushed from the Wii U to the NX. As during this presentation, only one new Wii U game was even shown off. The rest were games we already knew about, such as Xenoblade X, Woolly World, and more. The others were games we just haven't seen much of, if any at all, such as Star Fox Zero. There were much more new game announcements for the handheld 3DS, which is in a way surprising. It was coming towards the end of its lifespan. Number 5. Star Fox Zero and Super Mario Maker are not AAA titles. Now, don't get me wrong, they look fun and are very visually appealing, but these two games were the most highlighted of the Direct, but aren't really up to the caliber of carrying it all by itself. Star Fox is really just a B-tier Nintendo character, if even that. So having leaned their entire presentation based around that was a definite mistake, because not many fans could actually appeal to it besides the long-term fans and maybe some minority exceptions. As for Super Mario Maker, it looks to be a great title as well, but it still isn't the standard Mario formula, which may lead to some more casual consumers to stray away from this title. Number 4. Star Fox Zero was pretty underwhelming. It was definitely the most highlighted game of the presentation, but overall it was not a very hype-inducing game. The graphics were subpar, the mechanics were very iffy, and there were complaints about the controls. And like I said earlier, Star Fox really isn't a super well-known series or character. Most who will get this game that are completely new to the franchise are going to be because they just saw the character in Smash Bros. Or from other means such as seeing it as Amiibo. Star Fox just really isn't up to the caliber of leading an entire direct on itself, or even being a holiday title for that matter. But Nintendo was just put in a weird situation where their intended holiday title was delayed, so they really just had to make up for the fact. Number 3. This game was a huge disappointment to fans. Many thought that the Animal Crossing series would finally be coming back to the home console as a Wii U release. And it did, in a way, but not in the form everyone was hoping for. Instead of the traditional Animal Crossing formula, this game is more of a crossover with the Mario Party series. However, in order to even play, it requires you to purchase specific Animal Crossing Amiibos. As for even the gameplay itself, it doesn't look too enticing either. Yes, there are fun quirks from the Animal Crossing series that are incorporated into the board game, such as time passing through the days, events such as the Bug Fest, and more. But a lot of people were disappointed because it wasn't the Animal Crossing they were looking for. Especially since the Amiibo themselves were actually leaked a few days before the event, so many were predicting to see an actual console release of an Animal Crossing. So because of those expectations, a much more negative response was received. Number 2. This seems to be one of the most biggest supposed atrocities at this event. When Blast Ball was shown off during the Nintendo World Championships, I noted that it kind of reminded me of Metroid with the arm cannon mechanic and looked similar to the Metroid Prime Hunters released on the DS. Later at the event, we were learned that this was in fact labeled under the Metroid Prime series. Many felt that this label was just slapped on there in hopes that this game would sell. This of course arose huge complaints, which eventually even led to a petition for Nintendo to not even release this game at all. A recent interview with Reggie even addressed this, with him quoting that WinWin wasn't initially received positively, and for us fans to just trust them on this and go with it. He did acknowledge that the company itself is listening to us, and knows that we want a more traditional Metroid, either in the vein of Metroid Prime with a first-person adventure, or along the classic 2D platforming adventure. Many were hoping that this was the year that Samus would finally have her revival, but instead we get some spin-off fan featuring the Federation Force officers. The gameplay itself actually might not be that bad. Perhaps it would have been better received if this was actually dubbed Metroid Prime Hunters 2, and the playable characters were instead the other bounty hunters and Samus Aran. Number 1. I believe the biggest thing that Nintendo did wrong at this year's E3 is they did not send off their presentation with a bang. It ended with a montage of home videos of fans singing along to the Super Mario Bros. Theme, celebrating for the fact that it is his 30th anniversary. While this was a little bit entertaining, if they would have correctly taken advantage of this situation, this was the time to announce a more traditional 3D Mario, such as in the vein of a Super Mario Galaxy 3 or something else along those lines. Instead, they try to raise funds for some sort of charity by entering in a video on how much you love their character, and it was very narcissistic and egotistic of just telling us, oh, look how good our mascot is. When instead, this was the time that they should have shown us a brand new Mario game. If they had honestly done just this alone, this one change could have potentially had saved their E3. While this one wasn't a particular disaster, it definitely was one of their lowest in their most recent years. Coming off the strong win from last year E3 with undoubtedly winning, it was a little disappointing to see that this year they were hardly competing. Nintendo claims that they acknowledged that us fans are a little disappointed with their performance this year, and they are taking that into consideration. They also claim that they have our best interests in mind when making these games, so for us just to trust them in that these games will be fun. I don't really know how to interpret or take that, but comprehend it as you choose. I haven't given up on Nintendo just yet, but my confidence was shaken just a little bit in them. Here's hoping to a better year and hopefully more new announcements in the coming months. What do you guys think about Nintendo's performance this year? Did they do as bad as everyone's been saying? Or did they do just a fine job as anyone else? Voice your opinions in the comments below. As always, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more Nintendo news, E3 coverage, and more. Thanks guys, bye.